Good morning.
Good morning.
How's everybody doing?
Doing good. How are you?
Good, good. Hey, Vanessa, how's it going? John, how are you?
Good.
Good,
Good, Michael. Thanks. How are you?
good, very good. Good to see y'all. So let's dive in. Today, I'd like to talk about something that came up in my feed last week as an article and really captured my attention and imagination. And the title of the article is Choose Enjoyment Over Pleasure. It's by Arthur C. Brooks, who has a column in the Atlantic about how to build a life or how to build a happy life. The concept of the article is obviously comparing the two different things, pleasure versus enjoyment. And just on the face of it, if I asked you, what is your thought? What are your thoughts about pleasure versus enjoyment? Do you see them interchangeable? Do you see them as similar or very different? And like which do you think you have the most of in your life, pleasure or enjoyment? Who would like to go first? John, you're leaning in. We'll let you start.
Okay. Well, to me, pleasure, and there's no etymological reason for this, but I've just, when you talk philosophically about pleasure and pain, pleasure is what you're getting, right? It's it's basically the sort of the way you receive stimuli from the environment. When I think about enjoyment, it's a little more general. You can enjoy something by having pleasure, but you can also enjoy something by sharing that pleasure with others. You're enjoying. There's something radiating about enjoyment that is not, where pleasure seems all receptive. Enjoyment sounds to me anyway, a little more radiative, if that's a word.
Fantastic. And if it's not, it should be. That's a great way to express it. Very good. Anyone else? Vanessa, you got any thoughts? None?
No, I like that. I like
Yeah.
that. Really good. Radiating too. Like that.
I love what John said. I feel like pleasure seems more fleeting, just kind of a quick moving, instant gratification kind of thing, without a lot of depth to me.
That's great. Yeah,
Enjoyment feels calmer and just a little more all encompassing.
That's great. You're absolutely right. What about when you think about your life, whether it's pleasure or enjoyment, what percentage of your life would you say is pleasurable or that you enjoy? Is it a large part? Would you like it to be bigger, larger? Do you feel guilty that you have maybe a lot of pleasure and enjoyment and feel like you should be doing more work or more good deeds or whatever? How do you come down on that question of how much pleasure and enjoyment do you actually have versus how much should you have? Do you feel like you need more or less? Anyone want to answer that? You certainly don't have to if you don't want to. Okay.
I probably have not thought about this enough. To me, the similarities between pleasure and pain are so they're so, to me, I don't know how to explain this. It seems like there's nothing new in pursuing pleasure. There's nothing new in avoiding pain. There are some things new in enjoyment, but that's not. I've never tried to measure that. I feel like I'm just getting by, most of the time anyway.
Well, if someone asked you specifically directly to you, say from a scale from 1 to 10, really simplify it. 10 is my life satisfaction is fantastic. It's great. I am very satisfied with my life. A 1 is not very satisfied with my life. I'm not saying you have to answer this if you don't want to, but if you think about it in those terms, what percentage, where do you fall on the scale of 1 to 10 of how satisfactory or enjoyable or fulfilling or rewarding do you find your life?
Well, I would say it's certainly not on either end of the scale, but I guess my big the big decision for me would be whether to put it above or below 5. So I'm going to say below so that I can strive for more, but
yeah,
I don't know. It's a coin toss.
And I brought in another word that we're going to get into eventually, satisfaction. That relates to these concepts as well. Anybody else want to answer that question or tackle that first question before I move on? I think you're still muted.
I'm with John.
Okay. Are you with John?
I might put it,
5-ish?
I was being more optimistic. I was thinking a little above the 5, a 6 or so, but yeah.
Okay. So my immediate follow-up question, and I hadn't planned any of this, so this is all off the cuff, this part of it. But if I asked you that question and you responded, each of you, the way you did, my follow-up question would be, is it within your power to change that, to increase the level of life satisfaction? And what could you do? What could you do that you're not doing to get to that place? And it may have something to do with enjoyment versus pleasure. According to this article, Brooks says pleasure is addictive and animal. Enjoyment is elective and human. The whole concept of this article, as I see it, is that pleasure is something that you really don't have much control over. It is, as Denise mentioned, fleeting. It's also something that sort of happens to you. Now, you may have involvement in it. You may be a pleasure seeker. And maybe certain choices and things you do may make you have a more pleasurable life. But enjoyment is actually, you are participating in a way, and it's I don't know that it's more experiential, but you're more aware of the experience as you're having it. You're more appreciative of it, and you have more stake in it than just pure pleasure. So I'm just going to read a little bit of the article and we can talk about it more. This creates a puzzle for the happiness seeker who must navigate between the twin perils of Puritanism and indulgence. And I find that to be in the West, and in particular in the United States, we do have that Puritan strain and that public Protestant work ethic that has a lot of guilt with it when it comes to pleasure or enjoyment. And I'm a worker. I'm a producer. I love to create, and that's what I spend, much of my time doing. But I love enjoyment and pleasure, and I seek those things as well. I do find, I think for all of us, finding a balance is key. And in a similar way, I keep telling y'all are familiar with Autumn, this amazing 4-year-old little girl that I have been just so honored and privileged to get to spend so much time with. And she came over day before yesterday. She was here yesterday as well, but day before yesterday, when she walked in, she's so observant. And when she walked in, she saw on the counter this Reese's peanut butter cookie cake with icing on the top, which when I put in the buggy when we were grocery shopping, Denise said, "What is that for?" And I said, "My birthday," which depending on how you look at it, is already passed, or it's several months before it comes around again. But that shows just one indication of how I seek pleasure, because let me tell you, it was very pleasurable. But the moment she saw it, she wanted some. And I said, "You are more than welcome to some, but you have to eat some good food first." And when I'm using that term very loosely when I say good food, because I was trying, she's not a great eater. So I was like, you can eat an apple, you can eat some peanut butter or yogurt. Now, those things are okay. They're not great. They're not broccoli or something. But I said, all you have to do is eat that, and then you could have some cookie cake. Well, she just became obsessed, and all she wanted was the cookie cake. She wasn't hearing anything about any peanut butter or apple or anything else. But to me, I know that if I can find a balance and eat the good food first, I definitely enjoy the more pleasurable to my palate stuff more. Denise asked me about something about this weekend. I forget which day it was, but she was like, she asked me if I wanted something. And I can't remember. It was either something she had cooked, like lemon squares for an event we had yesterday, or it was some of this cookie cake or whatever. And my response was, I don't eat any sugar until after dark, or sweets. I don't eat any sweets till after dark. And that's true of me. I find that for balancing for me, now, let me tell you, when late night comes, I snack like a mofo. That is, if you go in our media room and look at the garbage can, you'll see all kind of Reese's wrappers and all kind of stuff. And Denise will sit over there laughing at me because of my nighttime snacking. But that's what works for me. I don't eat sugar. I don't eat sweets during the day. I tell you something else. As a creative who has spent his life, his nearly entire adult life, working for himself, creating, writing, producing, with no one standing over me with a weapon saying you got to do it, I don't turn the television on during daylight hours. Never have. That's a balance for me, not only because daytime TV sucks, or there's nothing I'd want to see, but I don't watch that stuff. And in fact, we don't even have cable, so whatever I'd be watching would be something I choose. That's another thing of choosing what's really good and what I find to be both pleasurable and beneficial. So those kind of balances: eating the good food first, getting my work done first before I even turn to pleasure or enjoyment, and then finding those places where the two can intersect. I consume, when it comes to, say, entertainment, I consume a lot of crime, mystery, suspense, thriller, true crime documentaries, and even the movies and TV series that are for entertainment. They are crime, they are mysteries, they are whodunits, they are thrillers. I'm simultaneously working. I'm simultaneously getting ideas. I'm evaluating, and And if you look at what I consume, it is definitely skewed in that direction. And Denise, who I'm assuming is still on here, will say, "Oh, let's watch something funny. Don't you want something? Let's just, and we do. I will give in sometimes, and and there's nothing wrong with that. And that's definitely more to her taste. But you look at what I consume, it is sort of that marriage of I can really enjoy this, but I'm also getting something out of it. I'm also still working and there's something happening. So to me, you eat the good food first and then you get the cookie cake. And the times in my life where I have consumed the cookie cake first, it wasn't as enjoyable. We could also talk about the way in which I consume these things. I actually have a picture on my phone. Again, Denise is laughing, sitting beside me, because the cookie cake has icing on it, which is my favorite part. So I don't eat the parts that don't have icing. Now it's a pretty large sort of sheet cookie. Well, they had a ring of icing around the edges. So guess what I ate? That's the part I ate. And I didn't really eat much of the rest. And the week before that, we got, I say we, no, let me be honest. I got a caramel cake from the grocery store. And if you look at that, the bulk of the cake is left because I ate the top part with the icing on it and just a thin layer of cake and then got rid of the rest. And the cream-filled donuts.
I was going to say the donuts are the best.
I only eat the part that has the white angel cream, vanilla cream in them. Well, last week before last, we stopped by Dunkin' Donut and got some of those. And come to find out, somebody forgot to put the cream in them. So when Denise looked in the box, it looked like a wild animal had mangled every donut because I had opened every one looking for the cream. It wasn't there. And guess what I did? I left them. I didn't eat that's wasted calories. That's wasted. I mean, they wasted my time making me search for the cream. Shame on them for not putting it in there. But to me, this all relates to the balance of work versus enjoyment, or combining the two, or in some cases, there's some things that have to be done we don't really want to do. So maybe doing those first, getting that out of the way, getting our work done. I'm not saying that we ever finish our to-do list, but finish it for the day and then turn to enjoyment, turn to pleasure. Or, as I would argue, I'm finding enjoyment in my work. I find it extremely pleasurable. And you can also, and I think to me, that's the best. To me, that's nirvana, is when you're doing something that is beneficial and productive and helpful, and yet you are enjoying it. But you can also, I think, incorporate, to me, this is also very good and helpful, to incorporate the enjoyment, the pleasure in among the work or the less pleasurable things. I know a lot of people. I mean, I've witnessed, I think there's a lot of people in the world like this. I've witnessed up, close, up and personal, very close close by, in close proximity to people who will not allow themselves any enjoyment or pleasure until everything is done. And so what I witnessed them doing is working, trying to get to the end of that to-do list or the days, and then they crash. There's no time left for enjoyment. So again, to me, that's out of balance. Finding this balance for all of us, I think, is going to be key. And integrating it, again, if they can be the same, it's the same activity as producing and helping others and beneficial, and you enjoy it, man, that's as good as it gets. But at a minimum, have those things and have some parallel enjoyment along with it. The Puritanism versus indulgence that Brooks mentions in this article, the Puritanism is the one that's going to just do the work and crash and never ever. Now, I will not go to bed if there's a dirty dish in the sink. I will not let myself have any pleasure until everything's done. And of course, it never is. Leading to the much dreaded rule of moderation, which is more or less the philosophy of leaving any party as soon as it gets really good. Fortunately, there is a better way to solve the puzzle, to stay at the party without letting it get out of control. Choose enjoyment instead of pure pleasure. Enjoyment and pleasure are terms often used interchangeably, but they are not the same thing. Pleasure happens to you. Enjoyment is something that you create through your own effort. Listen to this. Pleasure is lightheadedness. Pleasure is the lightheadedness you get from a bit of grain alcohol. Enjoyment is the satisfaction of a good wine properly understood. Now, in both those cases, you can get a buzz, right? But he's actually arguing that in one, it could be enjoyment and something that is fulfilling and something that you are, I'm going to use this word, conscious about. I'm making a conscious decision to enjoy this wine or this donut or this activity versus I'm going to be unconscious. Think about how we consume our meals. Do we consciously enjoy each bite? Are we, here's another word, mindful as we're doing it? And mindfulness is going to lead to a lot of enjoyment of this rich, full, textured life. Or are we just gobbling it up to satiate a hunger pain with no appreciation, with no enjoyment, with no mindfulness, and then it's over and we're full for a little while, and then the hunger comes back. Any responses to these things? Any questions or thoughts you have? I'm sure you have plenty. Let's hear them.
Well, I don't know if this applies, but I think I use your strategy a lot. If I do a hard thing, and by the way, I totally relate. Icing is the pinnacle of enjoyment.
Especially buttercream.
Yeah, buttercream. Yes.
I agree 100%.
And I
On
like
ice.
that you've given, oh, I'm sorry. I was going to say, and I like that he's given me the freedom that I don't have to eat the whole thing. I can just eat the icing with a little bit of cake.
Exactly. Me too.
If you find yourself in the perfect relationship, it will be one in which they let you eat the icing and they eat the cake. But I don't know. That could be a unicorn. That might not exist. I don't know. But anyway, go ahead, Vanessa. Anything else?
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, I try to do that. If I do a hard thing, I might, give myself a mini cupcake or something like that, And then here's
Wait
another
now.
thing.
Whoa.
What?
It was a hard thing and you just get a mini cupcake?
Yeah, I kind of
Wow,
got a
you're a
good,
Puritan.
yeah. I kind of got a hard dose of the Puritan hard work ethic. I will say, okay, here's something that for some people, exercise is an enjoyment, right?
Right.
But it has never been that for me. And I have done it a long time because people say, oh, you got to stick with it and then you'll get the endorphins and it'll be, no, it is not enjoyable. But I make it enjoyable with our technology. It's so simple to do that I will get a series, something that I want to know what happens next. And I won't allow myself to do that unless I get on the treadmill or I go out. And then it is pleasurable to go outside for a walk. But when that's not possible, the treadmill is the next thing. And I will either do that with a book which I find enjoyable, and I can read the next chapter if I, simultaneously while I walk on the treadmill, or I watch the next thing in a series while I walk on the treadmill. So I think that's the combination, and it works for me. So, but yeah, that's a good balance there, I
That
think.
is great.
I love that. I'm actually on the stationary bike right now.
Right now,
so
even
that's
as
why-
we speak.
That's why I'm not on camera, because I had to kind of figure out, well, I want to go to meeting Monday, but I don't want to not exercise.
You should
So,
go on camera just for a moment to show us.
well, I have to go to the other room to turn on the camera.
Okay.
And blah, 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 blah.
All right.
But definitely it has made, I'm not even really aware of the exercise. So it's a super win-win.
Very good.
Absolutely. Love it, Denise.
Enjoyment is better than pleasure because it is more conscious and permanent. Pleasure and enjoyment do not even have to coincide. I enjoy going to the gym because I know that my voluntary effort will improve my body and health. But it usually isn't very pleasant because it is strenuous and often even physically painful. The legendary fitness guru, Jack LaLanne, who died in 2011 at age 96, famously disliked working out, but did so for hours a day because he enjoyed being fit, and in parentheses, and I imagine being rich. If I sought only pleasure, I would stay on my couch and inadvertently deny myself enjoyment, settling for a comfort that is animal and evanescent. And that is a bad trade. Each of us knows without necessarily realizing it that pleasure is inferior. When we say to our kids, turn off the computer and go play outside, we are exhorting them to choose enjoyment by doing something that requires more voluntary effort and does not create a dependency and has more enduring benefits. We know that this advice will help our children have a happy life because our own happy childhood memories are of playing ball with friends, not sitting in front of the TV watching reruns. Opting for pleasure is a mistake for happiness. But even if we choose enjoyment, other barriers can make us less likely to get the satisfaction that it can offer. Some people ruin their enjoyment of life by using it to show others how happy they are. For example, when we're out for a hike on a beautiful day, you might have the urge to document your fun on social media. That way your friends will say, "She has a great life." In contrast, you are much less likely to document your guilty pleasure, say watching Netflix in a ratty bathrobe at 4 p.m. Yeah, I don't know many people who post pictures of themselves watching Netflix.
That's hilarious. In the ratty bathrobe. I read I don't know if it was Eckhart Tolle or one of those cool guys in the moment-y kind of people. They described the difference between pleasure and joy. They termed it joy, not enjoyment, but pleasure was like the feather in the wind that randomly blows from one moment to the next, but joy or enjoyment is more the oak tree that may bend with the gusts, but is always really just rooted in certainty and security. And I thought that was kind of a nice visual between
Fantastic.
the strength of enjoyment versus the fleeting of pleasure.
Yeah, I'm sorry. And that word joy obviously is in the word enjoyment, but joy is enduring. It is fulfilling. It is enriching. It is, and it's something that we get to choose versus being something that happens to us, something that we have no control over. Anyone else? Any other thoughts or comments? The problem is that enjoyment theater degrades the happiness it purports to deliver. For example, in a 2018 study in the Journal of Consumer Research, scholars asked hundreds of students at the University of Pennsylvania to chronicle their holiday experience with photos. Those who voluntarily shared their photos on social media enjoyed their experience 8% less than those who kept the photos for their own memories. The research argues that this happened because sharing the photos online created pleasure to present oneself in a positive light, which is bad for happiness. So this leads to another thought. The whole posting of things on social media is, I think it's great. It has its place. I enjoy sharing things and I enjoy seeing what others are doing. And in a similar way, it's not identical, but I could be having a conversation with one of you individually in person or on the phone versus we're sharing this as a group and it's open to anyone. And so it has its place, but a lot of what is shared is, like we said earlier, it's only the post for the best looking or happiest. And there does seem to be a lot of people who post things, look at me, or look how great my life is, or look how happy I am. And I've seen people, I've known of people, acquaintances, but I've seen them. One person in particular I'm thinking of went through a breakup, and oh my goodness, after that, did everything she posted was like, I couldn't be happier. Look at me, how happy I am. I've never been as happy. And I know that she was very miserable and unhappy, and I don't think the breakup was her idea. And yet she's trying to project that. So there's that whole aspect of it. But that leads me to this thought. I heard an expert on these type of subjects say that look at your envy, that we are taught that envy is bad, and we try to not acknowledge that we ever have any envy. But she said, and I'm sorry I can't remember her name at the moment, I'll try to find it later, but she said, if you look at your envy, you'll look at what you're really desiring. Now, I'm not saying a fake photo on Facebook. I really like that alliteration. A fake photo on Facebook is the envy that is the insight we need of envy to have a better life, or to find what we want. But if we're honest and look at that which we envy, she has so and so, she does so and so, he has this or he does that, or look at the happiness that person has, the quality of life, the quality of relationships, the quality of experiences, whatever it happens to be. If we'd be honest enough with ourselves, we don't have to necessarily share it with anyone else, although we could. But if we're honest with ourselves about our envy, we may just find what we're really desiring, and then we can begin working towards that. And if you forget the fake Facebook stuff, or Twitter, or Instagram, whatever, forget the fake. If you envy something that is genuine, then that is a great insight into what you really desire. And if you are, dear friends, at a 5 on life satisfaction, that might be the insight of what can, or if you're at a 6, or if you're at a 7 or 8, or whatever it happens to be, if you're at a 2, that could be the thing or the things that could bump it up some. All right, we have a few minutes left. Let me hear from you. Anybody?
Well, I was thinking at first that enjoyment might have more of a communitarian aspect than pleasure. That pleasure is very personal, and enjoyment is something you can share. But that can't be right, because I know I can go out in the middle of nowhere to Conservation Park, and there's nobody there. I can have an immense amount of enjoyment. I can still spread that, around my friends like your time, where I can, get into my heart or something else. So that end, or no, you said about the fake Facebook photos. It seems to me that a lot of times when we overshare, that the enjoyment gets diluted some. Is that familiar to you guys?
Definitely. And we ask ourselves, why? Why am I oversharing? Denise mentioned something to me a month or 2 ago, and I think it was an aspect of oversharing. And she didn't say, she just mentioned it was just anyway. And I looked at it and I was like, okay, I see why I'm doing this particular thing, what it's about. So getting insight into why we're doing something, where's it coming from, what's the motive behind it. That's so not only does, yes, doing it, figuring out that we're doing it is figuring out how we're diminishing our own happiness, but asking why is going to give us good insight into what our motive is, motivation, where we're coming from.
I don't know if this relates, but I've just been thinking as you were talking about fake, the fake photos on Facebook. And I just keep thinking this word that I've heard recently about toxic positivity, that we think that we always have to be positive.
Right.
That is all that we can show or feel or see. Anyway, that's what it brings to my mind. And I think that we kind of all have that in our heads, this some kind of crazy goal.
Yes. Toxic positivity. That's my favorite new phrase. I love it. It's so true. One minute left. Anybody else? Well, I hope you all have a great, enjoyable week, and that we can all work on this balance of having more enjoyment in everything we do and having a more enjoyable life. And I'm not going to stop until I find this balance, and then it won't last. So I'll have to work on it some more, but I hope you have a great week, and hopefully I will see you soon, maybe next Monday.
Thank you
care,
so much.
everybody.
This was a great topic.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so
Have a
much.
great week.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Have a great week.
Bye,
You too.
everybody.